I'm Luciana Jaime from the RESONATE project, and today I would like to share with you our current research that I'm doing with my colleagues Pilar Hurtado, Francisco Lloret, and Josep Maria Espelta about the use of resilience indicators to try to optimize efforts in forest management and decision making. But first of all, what we understand by resilience indicators. The term of resilience indicators, thinking in a forest social ecological system, can be split in two components. One of them is the descriptor of the system that corresponds to the system variables that usually describe forest ecosystem services or components of the forest value chain. An example could be for biodiversity, the richness of insects. And on the other side, the other component of these resilience indicators is the predictor, that the resilience predictor that is explaining the response, the behavior of the system variable. That is a relationship, a correlation between this system variable and resilience predictor. And the example that I said before about the richness of insects, some predictor of the system variable could be the deadwood of the forest. And importantly, the resilience predictors are operational. That is that you can manage the deadwood in the forest to promote the resilience of the richness of insects. So this is the key part of these resilience indicators. Try to find the best resilience predictors to increase different components of the forest social ecological system, to increase their resilience to different disturbances or stressors that we are experiencing with climate change. Okay, so based on this idea of resilience indicators, we carry out a literature review from 2010 to 2022, focusing on papers of forest social ecological systems that experience some kind of disturbance, and we identified resilience predictors and system variables in each of these papers. From this, we obtain an inventory of predictors and system variables of more ecological aspects that is describing more variables related to forest ecosystem services, and from social economical aspect more related to components of the forest value chain. And with this and the evidence, scientific evidence from literature review, we establish the links, that is the relationships between the predictors and system variables to understand which predictors can increase the resilience of a particular system variable. Okay, and with this information, we are doing two studies. Well, one of them is more focused on the evidence of literature review to create a reference guide that I'll explain in the next slides. And the other is more focused on the perception of stakeholders. And we did a stakeholders assessment, and is a study that I'm doing at this moment. Okay. Related to the reference guide, the main objectives is provide an agreed and tested ecological resilience indicators, as I mentioned, based on literature review, with the idea to assist in the selection of them to be applied and prioritized by forest managers and decision makers. So for this, we have built a simple online tool. Yeah, it's very easy to use. That is like an interactive presentation, and is available on the RESONATE project website. That you can click in the link, and clicking in the link, users go directly to the front page, that is this picture, and you can start. Okay, when you start, you go to this slide about what are resilience indicators, because we think that it's important to understand in which system variables you can have an effect with the management of resilience predictors. Okay, so here you can click the system variable or the resilience predictor and go to other slide in which there is a description of each of them, and also some examples to understand better what we understand by system variable or resilient predictor. Also, you can click for more information and go to other slide in which we explain the literature review that we did, and also you can go to the links of the deliverables and in which this information is available, or go directly to select indicators. Here in the slide to select indicators, well, it's more the system variables are grouped in different groups, more or less related to different forest ecosystem services like forest functioning, biodiversity, forest structure, landscape, and soil. And here you click in the group of system variables that you are interested to increase the resilience to disturbances and stressors. For example, biodiversity, you can be interested. And here in biodiversity, you obtain a list of groups of system variables that we have found in literature review. And for example, you select plant and taxonomic diversity, and you obtain different specific examples also found in literature review, like species richness or different index of biodiversity. And the most common or the best resilience predictors that we found in literature review to explain this system variable. That here, well, we have herbivory pressure, landscape vegetation cover, management intensity, management treatment, and also the percentage of significant relationship that in all the literature review we found this correlation. Again, well, specific examples of resilience predictors and links to the literature review where you can find this specific relationship between the system variable and a particular resilience predictor. So the idea is easy, try to guide the forest managers or decision makers to understand better in which system variables and with which resilience predictors they can work. And also, yeah, it's an easy online tool easy to change. Also, for example, if we update the literature review to include more information, or yeah, to change things if it's necessary. And the other study that we are doing at this moment is with the stakeholders, to the other view, because yeah, the view of scientific side could be different from the view of the stakeholders that are working directly in forest management, for example. And the idea is, from the stakeholders' perception and expertise, try to obtain a set of reliable predictors of the resilience, in this case, of forest ecosystem services, but also for components of the forest value chain by contrasting key stakeholders' views. For that, we first establish with the stakeholders the relationships between predictors and system variables, and then assess it the different criteria of for the resilience predictors to select the best of them. And for this study, we use a questionnaire. We prepare a questionnaire. that distribute in collaboration, distribute to different stakeholders of 4 target groups: forest and disturbance management actors, value chain actors, societal actors, and government and policy actors, and in collaboration with the 9 case studies of the RESONATE project. Briefly, the structure of this questionnaire was 3 parts. Were 3 parts. The first part with main information and description of the project, the meaning for us of resilience, that we think that is very important to have clear this idea, and several examples of system variables and resilience predictors. The second part, and the most important, the exercises to be completed by stakeholders. And the third part, supporting information with description of each variable explained in this questionnaire. This is the exercise 1, in which stakeholders identify links between system variables and resilience predictors. 2 tables, one of them with system variables more related to forest ecosystem services, and the other with system variables more related to the forest value chain. And the second exercise was for scoring each resilience predictor presented in the previous exercise based on a set of criteria, with the idea of select the best of them based on the perception and opinion of stakeholders. Here the results. Well, you can see in this figure the 9 case studies of the RESONATE project, and in total we received 82 completed questionnaires. That was good, but not very good, but enough for us. And here the results for the first exercise. Here you can see a Sankey network. On the left, the system variables, and on the right, the resilience predictors are, in summary, well, the most common resilience predictors for forest ecosystem services were forest management strategy, wood harvesting intensity, and basal area. And also, well, important that each system variable was mainly linked to 1 or 2 resilience predictors, that is the stronger links that they receive. But we need to do more analysis about this. Okay, however, if we, the previous network is with all the responses from stakeholders, but if we split the information in the 4 target groups of stakeholders, the perception of these links differ. For example, for value chain actors, the biodiversity was mainly linked to conservation status and management intensity. And for societal actors, for example, the system variable on non-wood forest production was explained by land use intensity, or this predictor of land use intensity. In the case of components of the forest value chain, again, the most common resilience predictors were forest management strategy and wood harvesting intensity, but in this case, also the felling in the forest available for wood supply. And its system variable was mainly linked to 1 or 2 resilience predictors. And with the analysis for the different target groups, again, well, several new links appear. And for example, for forest and disturbance management actors, to explain the forest products value as system variable was key the forest trade. For societal actors to explain wood production and forest products value, where was the forest area under certification. And finally, for government and policy actors, land use intensity was a key predictor to explain wood production. Okay, this is for the first exercise. For the second exercise about scoring each resilience predictors, for forest ecosystem services, the top score resilience predictor were 2, forest expansion and conservation status. And in the case of the forest value chain, were several, like wood harvesting intensity, forest area under forest management certification, forestry training, forest expansion, etc. So, like a key message from this analysis, but I repeat again that we need to deep a bit more in these results. From exercise 1, we see that management-related predictors are key to increase the resilience of different forest ecosystem services, like biomass stock, timber production, or forest biodiversity. In the case of forest value chain, it's true that based on the stakeholders' perception, they are explained by a wider range of predictors. But again, the forest management strategy is key. And well, finally, that the perception differs across stakeholders groups, and yeah, with different significance of, for example, conservation status, management intensity, or forest area under certification for the ecosystem services or elements of the value chain. And in the case of exercise 2, we can see that the most appropriate or the best predictors to increase resilience are different depending on if we consider the forest like an ecosystem, in which aspects like increase the forest area and conservation of biodiversity are more important, or if we consider the forest like the origin of the value chain. And in this case, aspects related to the exploitation of the forest and the forestry training are more relevant. Okay, so well, thank you very much for your attention.